Kingdom Hearts is a video game I hold very dearly in my heart. I played it back in the days on the PS2 when it released back in the 2000s, and since then it has been remade and re-released what feels like a billion times. There was a normal PS2 version, there was a Final Mix PS2 version, there was a PS3 version, there was a PS4 version, there was an Xbox version, and eventually there was even a PC version. On the Epic Game Store. That annoyed the hell out of a ton of people on the internet, but finally, after all those years, it is time to embrace the dream that everyone has always had, a Steam version of Kingdom Hearts. Now, to celebrate this massive re-release of Kingdom Hearts, I decided to do what I can do best, speedrun the game blindfolded. I wanted to tackle a small challenge in celebration of the release, so I decided to take a look at the Destiny Islands, basically the first world that acts as a tutorial to the gameplay mechanics and an introduction to the story in Kingdom Hearts 1. What started as a funny little idea very quickly turned into an epic speedrunning journey. And if you don't want to miss more videos like that, hit that subscribe button right now. Let us start by looking at the objectives and the route that lays in front of us. The Destiny Island speedrun consists of 4 major parts. The first part is the dive to the heart, basically the very beginning of the game and therefore also the tutorial. The player gets to learn the basic movement, attacks and interactions, and as you can imagine, it's nothing too interesting. It reaches its finale with a boss fight against Darkseid, who dies in a couple of hits easily. Then we actually get to play on the Destiny Islands. Sora has the task to collect some items around the island in order to build a raft or something. Long story short, we need to gather 4 items. 1 log here, 1 cloth up in this hut, a rope at the end of this wooden balcony, and 1 more log here. After that, we need to navigate back to Kairi and talk to her to get us to the second day. The second day is similar to the first one. We need to once again collect some items. This time, we need to collect 3 fish from the ocean, get a mushroom from this cave, climb some trees for this ginormous seagull egg, then enter a new area and raise our good old friend Riku. After that, we get a few more errand tasks from Kairi. We need another mushroom from behind this rock, 1 more mushroom in these bushes, some fresh water from this spring, and finally get 2 yellow coconuts. After all that is done, it is time for the climax of this world. Heartless invade the island and darkness rises over it. Sora needs to find his friend Riku, and after some important story cutscenes, we enter the cave a final time and enter the boss fight against Darkseid, the same boss as in the tutorial, just now a bit stronger. After this boss is defeated, the Destiny Island portion of the game is done, and this is also where I mark the end of my speedrun project. Now, what if I told you that I actually have speedrun this game blindfolded before, and not only the Destiny Island portion, but the entire game in an any % speedrun? That's right, back in 2018 I have routed, memorized and beaten the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 1 in just under 8 hours. It was actually the second blindfolded run I have ever performed in my life, right after the world's first blindfolded SM64 16-star speedrun. I'm telling you this because this project was sort of a challenge. How much better have I become in the past 6 years of blindfolded speedrunning that I have done since then? Did I improve as a gamer? Is my routing more precise and can I use new techniques now? I quickly checked the final time of my old run for the Destiny Island portion, and it seemed the world record stands at 33 minutes and 55 seconds. That sounds decent, but looking back, I am sure I could improve it. So I sat down on my stream for like 2 hours and rerouted the entire thing. But the results were not what I expected. It was a difference like night and day. The biggest difference and also improvement was not even in the strategies or anything, but simply the fact that I now played the PC version of the game. Playing on the PC version does not only mean faster loading times, but also the ability to use whichever controller you want. And guess what? After all those years, I could finally play the game with my beloved GameCube controller. This bad boy of a controller has notches around its analog stick, which means that I can consistently walk diagonally in the game. Before, I played on the PS4, and I routed the entire game with basically only the 4 cardinal directions: up, down, left and right. Imagine the possibilities if we can just shortcut diagonally everywhere in the run. This meant so much time save, but unfortunately also that I had to reroute everything. Anyways, let us take a look at the new strategies that I have come up with and how I implemented them into my first run attempt. The first big time save is right in the first inputs of the run. While the PS4 version had to sit through what feels like 5 minutes of the iconic simple and clean intro cutscene, the PC version can just skip it. Free time save. In the dive to hard sequence, there is not too much new stuff. I just optimized the movement and inputs here and there. While before I, for example, was using slow but normalized punches to reach certain objects or characters, now I used precise counting of Sora's footsteps for all of my movement. Now, day 1 has huge changes to the route. In my old run, I collect the log, then go to the hut to do a safety save. After exiting out again, I use a very obscure method of renormalizing on the map. I target Waka and fight him, because the cutscene after the fight always puts Sora in the same position. Clever strat, but really slow. From there, I make my way to the cloth, jump down straight to the ladder that brings me to the rope, and then search the hut again. Fun fact about this game, one thing that makes it so hard to blindfold is the fact that you do not stop or hear when you reach walls, similar to, for example, Dark Souls. So the only way to reliably tell that a wall is in front of you is punching it. Of course, in my new strats, I skip all of that entirely now. After getting to the first log, I just beeline towards the ladder straight away, get the rope, climb up to the cloth, and then do one big jump that gets me straight to the hut. After omitting one more safety save, I exit the hut, grab the last log that perfectly aligns with exiting the door, and make my way to Kairi to start the second day. The second day also changed a lot. It actually starts with a heavy RNG section, and for that I still use the same old strat. We need to grab 3 fishes from the ocean, but their swimming is entirely random. So I lock onto a fish, tap up and punch to adjust my angle, and pray that it swims in my favor right into my arms. Often it can happen that the fishes swim too far out and Sora starts swimming himself, but eventually you should be able to grab all fish like that. That brings us to a huge problem though. If we use lock-on with the fish, our camera turns in absolutely unpredictable directions. How do we fix that and renormalize ourselves afterwards again? Past Bubzia had some good ideas. Using the different footstep sounds, you can deduct which general direction the camera is facing. If you hold up and the water gets deeper, then hold down and sand is starting to appear slowly, you are facing the ocean and vice versa. This way I could randomly run far enough into the island to lock onto one of the characters, talk to them, fight them, and with that renormalize in the same way I used to do in day 1. That solves the problem of the unpredictable camera, but is there a better way to do this? I've come up with a genius idea for this section. After the fish, we once again randomly search the land by deducting the general direction of the ocean. Then, as soon as we can lock onto someone, we hold straight up right. That brings us 2 different scenarios. We can either lock onto the girl or to the guy. In both scenarios, the up right notch locks us into a consistent corner of the geometry, which is nice. If we now would have any kind of indication of who we actually target, we could make 2 different strategies from these corners to reach our next destination. And luckily enough, this game has pretty good audio design. So if you have the case of locking onto the guy, you can hear the waterfall in your right headphone. If you have the girl case, the waterfall is much more quiet and far away. With that, we can skip fighting the characters and straight away run to the cave, which is a screen transition that normalizes us again. In the cave, we just quickly grab the mushroom, skip some cutscenes and head out again. By the way, have I mentioned that this game has so many cutscenes? It is pretty insane. You sometimes need to skip cutscenes for like a minute straight, and I guess having shorter load times on PC does help a ton in speedruns like this as well. Anyways, the next objective is the ridiculously huge seagull egg. In my old run, I once again enter the hut, safety save, and then exit the upper door. From there, I use an actually really clever camera and positional setup to climb the tree with only cardinal directions. Getting Sora to climb the trees is surprisingly precise and difficult, so you need close to perfect angles for that. That gives me the seagull egg, and after renormalizing with the door, then walking all the way over here to this ladder to normalize once more, I finally enter the door to the next area. This section can surely be improved. Right after exiting the cave, I perform a little skip to jump to the roof, recenter my camera after the ledge grab, which perfectly aligns me with the tree if I hold left into the wall. Now this setup was again pretty hard to come up with, because honestly, screw these trees and their jank physics, but I made a pretty good strat. Climbing up the first tree, releasing, left tap, recenter camera, and climb up the second tree to finally jump to the egg. From here, no further normalization is needed. I just jump down straight to the next door and wiggle my way in there somehow. And that is meant literally. I got tired of memorizing all the footstep numbers and setups, so I just said F it. I just improvised this whole section. We are at the iconic race against Riku now. What many people don't know, in order to progress the story you actually do not have to win this race, which is a huge news for Blindfolded, because imagine beating this guy without sight. My strategies for this race have not changed too much, besides that I take some better movement lines. The really hard part is the jumps at the end though, and this is also when my first attempt at trying this challenge died. I mistimed the first jump and by accident hit a tree, which completely turns around my camera. I had no idea where I was facing now, but after a while I figured out the general direction of the camera by locating the ocean again. I was even really close to backing it all up, but the changed camera was too much to handle after all, so I just gave up and restarted the run. Old Bubzia is laughing at me now for not doing all of these safety saves, huh? I redid everything until that point and even managed to save some more time due to better execution and not having to think about all the memorized numbers of footsteps and stuff that much anymore. Then I approached the jumps again. Bling! Perfect, first try. And yet again, with some better lines, I go back to the start of the race to finish it, then walk back to the end of this place to talk to Kyrie. I came up with another clever strategy to get the mushroom from behind the rock. By locking onto Kyrie, then toggling once, you will always target the rock. If you then hold upright for a few steps, you will always get stuck in this corner and can simply hold up to push the rock away. Getting the mushroom from here is trivial. I then just quickly grab the final mushroom and the fresh water and head back to the coconut trees. And props to old Bubzia. I have to say, I simply copied my old strategy here. The problem is that it is random whether a brown or a yellow coconut drops after hitting a tree. Not only that, but even if a yellow coconut drops, you need to de-lock the tree and actually find and run into the nut. So I used a little algorithm to make sure I have the best chances of grabbing the yellow coconuts. Step 1, lock onto and punch the tree. Step 2, de-lock the tree and relock, because a yellow coconut will be prioritized by the lock-on system. Step 3, punch once to get closer to the potential coconut. Step 4, de-lock and run around a bit and hope you grab it. If you do not lock onto a coconut in step 3, you will simply hit the tree and can try again. Using this technique, I get the 2 coconuts rather quickly and head back to Kyrie. Once again, the camera is completely random here after locking onto the trees, so I use the footstep sounds again to locate the ocean to orient myself in this world. That is it for day 2, and the only big finale is left. After skipping another 7 whole cutscenes, I need to make my way to the hut by simply holding right, skip yet another safety save, and head out through the upper door. This starts another 2-pack of cutscenes, and here comes the last big optimization of the run. Previously, I did the most cursed ledge grab setup to set up my camera angle and then proceed to the mushroom cave again. Instead of this, I simply buffer my stick to the left during the cutscene skips, which will basically get me straight to the cave after a few more jumps. All that is left is a clean boss fight and we are good to go. Yo! That was so good! After the cutscene skip time ends, sub 20! And there you have it, a sub 20 minute blindfolded speedrun time of the Destiny Island section in Kingdom Hearts 1, an improvement of more than 10 minutes. I was sure that I could improve my old run, but the fact that it is so much time save is astounding. It makes me wonder, how could the full Any % run look like if I properly optimize it with my new knowledge and especially notches? I estimate I can probably save multiple hours from my previous record, but that is a story for another video. If you want to see the full unedited speedrun, you can find that on my second channel and in the description of this video. If you enjoyed this little journey through blindfolded Kingdom Hearts and want to potentially see more of this, leave me a like and a comment with some feedback. Don't forget to subscribe and also feel free to check out my Patreon. I offer some unique membership perks there and even publish exclusive documentaries there for all of my members, starting at only $3. Huge shoutouts to King Roops, Bodis, Bandits, Zeke's Many and Bob Farrell for the huge support and all of my other patrons as well. See you soon with more blindfolded awesomeness, and here is another picture of my cat as a reward for sticking around. Bye bye.